so this new model, this SaaS model, okay, what it has done and what the revolution that we're in the middle of right now is, instead of going around the dinner table and say, hey, I run ads for like local businesses on Facebook, now you're saying, no, I own a software company. So here's kind of my premise for the whole thing, where I'm so excited to talk to you, is back in like the 2014-15 era, you know, Ty Lopez and all these people. I think Billie Jean was actually kind of in this era where it was like, hey, social media marketing agencies run Facebook ads for people, you know, do their organic, do like whatever. Like that was the business of choice, right?
Totally.
And the model was
Facebook ads were brand new, right?
Exactly. The model was charge a fat retainer. Okay. You charge $1,500 to $2,000 per location. They're getting tons of leads because Facebook is making that easy. And you've got the laptop lifestyle, you know, getting your, you know, and that was the model that they sold. Okay.
Yes.
And when you sat around the dinner table telling mom and dad, hey, what are you doing for, like, you have a business now, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I run Facebook ads for these businesses, whatever. They're kind of like, Facebook ads? Like, it made no sense. Right.
Right.
And so it seemed kind of like this fly by night thing. Now, I've been running ads for local businesses for now, I think I'm in my 8th year. And so obviously it's not a fly by night business. However, the SMMA model is anemic. It is on the precipice of extinction. Okay. And here is why.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Here is why. When high level came around, and I actually kind of want to ask you about SaaS mode. I know it was not like a plan and you kind of fell into it in a way. When that SaaS approach
did not fall into it, totally stole it from our best customers.
Okay,
let's
perfect.
Be very clear. Let's be very clear about this.
What did Picasso say? Good artists copy,
great artists steal. Yeah,
there you go.
That's how I know that. That's the point. I'm fully aware of that, which is why I would say I know that quote because I emulated it. But yes, I mean, honestly, what happened was we truly started out on the of this idea, this mindset, like we're going to be the agency operating system. And then every time I would talk to all different agencies doing different things, having different business models. It's the model that matters. So like the thing I always tell people is like, you can sell lots of different things, right? It's like, in fact, I think like really interesting stuff like pest control. In my lifetime, I've watched pest control be like, I've got pests. You call the pest guy or gal, they come out, they spray your house, and then that's it. They're gone. It's a break fix service. Or I saw this with IT, right? Like my computer's broken, my printer's broken, break fix. But it's a very like wonky business model, right? Maybe the amount's really high, but it's like up and then boom down to nothing, right? And so I've watched both those business models turn to completely subscription only, right? So now I'm on a pest control subscription, and I'm certain that I'm basically not getting service most of the time because in the sense that I don't need it, but it smooths out their revenue to the point where hopefully they're charging me net the same at worst, but probably a little more than I would have otherwise paid on a break fix. And same thing with IT, right? So the model underlying those businesses fundamentally makes them profitable or not profitable, not necessarily just the service that they offer.
Yeah, that's right. And when you guys, so this new model, this SaaS model, okay, what it has done and what the revolution that we're in the middle of right now is, instead of going around the dinner table and say, hey, I run ads for like local businesses on Facebook, now you're saying, no, I own a software company.
Yeah.
And immediately when mom and dad hear he owns a software company, they start thinking, well, hold on, that sounds like a legitimate thing, first of all. Right. So, and then there's more questions, right? So just right now, if somebody is watching this and they have a social media marketing agency, and maybe this is the first time they've been exposed to high level as well as the UpHex combo, maybe this is the first moment where they've come to the realization that, wait a minute, I don't have to own a service-based business. I can own a software-based business.
That's right.
What do we tell them? What do we want to shout in their face, Shaun?
Well, I think so. Again, back to models and psychology. So if we look at that SMMA model, the reason why I think that it broke down isn't even that it was wrong. Like when I think about wrong, like I don't see it as being disingenuous. I don't see it as being like bad for the business owner. I just think it's on its face, it seems super logical. Like, listen, I'm going to have you give me $2,000 a month, and in return, I'm going to give you back greater than $2,000 of value, right? And I think that's actually what good SMMA businesses do. But the underlying customer, the consumer, they are not set up to accept that level for any service provided by any human. In fact, I used to ask people all the time, listen, for your customers, what human being, because you're a human being, do they pay outside of their organization the amount of money you charge them every month forever? Like, just name another vendor, right? And the answer is always the same. Nobody. Zero, zilch, nada, right? So what does that mean? That means you are not only do you charge them in their mind quite a bit of money, you're doing it in perpetuity. So every month when they sit down and they look at the books and then look at the expenses, they say, wait a second, hold on. This, like, I saw a new Mercedes, it's $800 a month. If I just cut this yahoo, I get my Mercedes. And that's exactly how you get chopped. Because they can't, yeah, that's exactly, it's a psychological issue. It really is. Like, because I think at the end of the day, they don't have the capacity. Because remember, you're the expert, right? You understand just what I described with AdWords. Like, you got to have the landing page, you got to have the copy, you got to have the call to action. They don't understand any of that stuff, right? They don't understand also, they can't equate you with money. It's very hard for them to see the revenue connection. It just makes you super vulnerable. So now, how do you fix that problem? Well, think about things that they also can't associate revenue with that they keep forever, like their power bill or their internet bill or, you know, all
their
kinds
website.
of things, their utility, right? So what you need to do is if they sort by total amount paid, you want to come down way down here. You don't want to be way up here. And at first you're like, well, wait a second, but I thought that makes me a lot less money. And you're like, no, but here's why. On your SMMA $2,000 a month deal, you're lasting 4 months if you're lucky, right?
If you're lucky.
We want you to last 4 years. Exactly. Yeah. We want you to last 4 years, not 4 months. And we want to, and then also the other problem is the profit margin. So on one hand, I just said that the business owner thinks it's expensive, but on the other hand, you're saying, wait, but I kill myself to make these ads. I'm always constantly updating them and I'm changing the targeting. I'm this and this and this and this. And that's the point. Price to value for you isn't there. So we need to change the model. And that's what UpHex, I think, does a great job of.
I think you're right. And it's funny that you say that. Well, first of all, I never asked myself the question that you did. Like, what other things? I mean, even an attorney, you don't pay him a monthly retainer. You pay him a retainer, and then he consumes it. And he says you need to refill your retainer.
Correct. It's an evergreen concept, but you think of it as one-time payment.
So what's interesting is UpHex is newer. I think we launched it. I did my initial spotlight with Chase in January of this year, so almost a year. But we really didn't hit the scene until maybe just a couple months ago. But what's funny is I used UpHex on my own agency first. And I remember, because you were talking about a 4-month retainer. I feel like I've been doing this a long time. I feel like I'm good. Like I'm
not
good
even
at what I
thinking
do.
Retainer. I'm just thinking month to month lasting 4 months.
Yeah. I was going to say, we were probably closer to 3, closer to 3, which I mean, it is what it is. However, when I changed the model, and the price point did change with this as well, but when I changed the model from we are a service-based business that runs your ads, gives you leads, to we are a software-based business that offers you ads on demand when you click them and they go. And then the service, you want to know what our upsell is? It's a service.
What is your upsell?
Yes, I love this. So it makes sense to your exact point. The upsell in my agency is you're getting all these leads. Wouldn't it be nice to have a lead nurturing service that adds to, like, a marketing department? Wouldn't you like to have a marketing department? Okay. So these gals, and they're all gals, are stay-at-home moms. They will call, qualify. They'll dial for dollars for you and set your appointments for you. So those people, when they shell out money, they're paying for what? An employee. And that makes sense to them. Yeah, that's an equal exchange for them. So it is funny. I feel like this point of churn is a huge sticking point. And I feel like you just like hit the target right in the bullseye, which was, if it's a monthly recurring expense not associated with human labor, like an employee that they can point at, all of a sudden the wheels fall off. They don't get it.
Totally.
right? And so they churn. That's very interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. So at the end of the day, I think it's trying to figure out, how do I give people what it is they want at a price that they're willing to say yes to? And I think where the hangup comes is, you have to look at what success means to you versus them. So I think success to an agency means I'm going to do everything I could ever imagine in the whole entire universe to make this person happy or to do a great job for them. But that's not necessary. And frankly, they're just not willing to pay for it. What is important is that you make an ROI positive outcome for them. And ROI positive just means that for the amount of money they give you, they make more. And I think this is where something like UpHex is so critical, where you could take essentially a Facebook ad and you could give it to them in a way where they can get it online, get leads, get money, get value, but not pay $2,000 a month, which they're not going to pay anyways. They don't want to pay, but instead they can pay $300 a month and be really pumped about it, because now they can say, I have Facebook ads, right? They want to check that box.
That's right.
I do Facebook ads, but it only costs me $300 a month. And this is actually a model I have seen over and over and over and over again. PatientPop.com. They just recently sold to Correo for millions of dollars. What do they sell? Their main product? Websites. And their whole way they sold a website was, instead of $20,000 for a new website for a doctor, it's $600 a month. And sure, they threw in some reviews and the mobile optimized website and all this other silliness, but there are millions of agencies that do exactly this. It's just they pitch it as a $20,000 mega bill versus a $600 a month, easy recurring monthly service bill. And so it's a totally different model, and it's the model that wins. And they had upsells, by the way. But imagine as a doctor, you can say, well, I get all my online website-y stuff done for $600 a month. That's a lot cheaper than anyone else in town here who's pitching me these crazy expensive websites that I can't afford.
If I go back to where we were talking about the model, you said another thing that I think that once businesses experience this, once an SMMA experiences this, it will change the entire way you think about this model, which was, it's one thing to make like a $1,500 monthly fee, retainer, whatever you want to call that, on a client and get that for 3 or 4 months. I mean, that is, if you keep them for 4 months, that's $6,000. It's one thing to get $6,000 on a sale, which most people aren't going to do that. It's another thing to stack up one upon one until you get to 100 or above. These $300 a month people who never go anywhere, because again, the value exchange is there. And instead of churning, always being in that constant cycle, you're just stacking up a base of cash flow that is so much more predictable and steady, that at which point you get to set your threshold. I don't know what your lifestyle needs to be, 50 people, 100 people.
Right.
At which point you get there, you're like, maybe we should do like a higher ticket offer. Maybe we should scale from 100 to 1,000. Maybe we should fill in the blank. There is actual control in a business like that, where the other, it's like, man, we just keep turning people. This is crazy.
Well, there's two things here. One, there's optionality, which I think is amazing, right? But there's the other big thing that people miss is, why are there so many SMMA agencies, or why are there so many agencies in general, right? It's because there's no efficiencies at scale. So most businesses, right? So let's say we want to go in the car business today. Getting from car 0 to car 1 is really hard. And getting from car 1 to car 1,000 is also really hard. But getting from 1,001 to 2,000 or 20,000 is actually easier, right? There's these efficiencies as you scale that are just really, really remarkable, right? Which is why there's a winner take all kind of concept in most industries that have that sort of scale. And ultimately in SaaS, you have something very similar. Now, I think there's locality that will allow these businesses to be less open to the winner take all strategy, which I think is great. But what you get is efficiencies at scale. So let's say you hire a customer support person. Well, that customer support person is going to allow you to cover, your first X customers, but then you hire the second one, and it's not just 2X, it's going to be 3X, right? Because you're going to get these efficiencies as you scale. And then all of your formulas that you create, all your ads that you put out, all your assets that you create, they can be cross-utilized, not just with the first customer, and it's also the second and the third and the fourth and the 100th. So all of a sudden that landing page that's for plumbers, your first plumber loves it, and so does the 100th plumber, right? So that asset you can monetize across all of those different plumbers as you move along. So the scalability and the profitability as it goes is right there with you.
So that you mentioned something else in there that's really critical. Mission critical in any business is operations, and key in operations is support. One of the things when I had an SMMA agency, for me, I was charging the 1,500, 2,000 monthly retainer. And whenever we would get to 25 to 30 customers, man, our wheels would fall off. If it was media buyers, if it was support, if it what you fill in the blank, whatever it was, the wheels fell off. And it's okay that we learn these things by falling into them, because one thing that I was blown away by when we switched from SMMA to SaaS, do you want to know what happened to my support?
Let me guess, it went down.
Well, the amount of support, yes, did go down. I actually added 127 clients in 2.5 months. Okay.
That's amazing.
My support went from herding kittens, meaning just a different problem for a different day and zero predictability, to we could see everything coming. And so Heather, who runs my support department, hi Heather, she would proactively reach out to people. There you go. She would proactively reach out to people. You want to know what happens when you tell somebody, hey, we noticed that your lead volume was slowing down, and so we made an optimization, and so you should see that increase over the next couple of days. You want to know what happens when you, instead of reacting to a problem, you preempt the problem?
They love you. They go nowhere.
I can't tell you.
And you're not calling. You know what's amazing is you didn't just call with a problem, but you also called with the solution. Yeah. So it's, hey, we saw there was a problem, but we've gone ahead and fixed it for you. Have a great day. No one does that to business owners, right? They always call the problems. Right. Hey, your service sucks. Your food is garbage. I hate what blah, blah, blah. And then as a business, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. You run after it, versus having a vendor come in and say, hey, we went ahead and proactively fixed something that we identified. Yeah, that's insanely huge.
And it's funny. We're sitting here talking, and it's like all of these things, just kind of the natural order of things. The second that my service department, which by the way, I have one person who is able to manage over 100 different locations, because the busy, I counted it once. I think it was 72. Don't quote me on that. 72 clicks to set up a lead generation campaign for a local business.
Oh yeah. Correct.
Okay. You know how many clicks we do now to set up a campaign? We actually do 0. Because our customer does it in 3 clicks. So we now remove the media buyer from the business and replace it with software. Absolutely. And the people who do the work, they are just kind of watching around what's going on and saying, oh, well, out of 100, we're going to have probably 5 to 7 folks that we just need to touch bases with every 2 to 3 days, and that's totally doable. So
absolutely.
It just kind of fell into it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a game changer. And, the other piece we haven't really even talked about is, while you're running the business and owning the business, it's more scalable. You can maybe do something crazy like, I don't know, go on vacation, all of that. But someday when you decide, you know what, I'm ready to sell this business, you got to realize that it's a totally different dynamic when you have a recurring revenue business. Because when you have recurring revenue, that actually looks like a business, right? Most people, they think, oh, well, someday I'll sell my agency. Or I actually just talked to a guy who is going around the country buying roofers, and he got a bunch of money from a PE firm, and they're doing all this stuff. And he was really excited to say that they're giving 2.5 times EBITDA, which is pre-tax profit essentially, to buy out these roofers. And so imagine you've run a roofing business for 30 years and someone says, hey, congratulations, I'll buy that from you for 2.5 years worth of work. So if you run it for another 2.5 years, you're going to get exactly what I'm going to give you after 30 years. To me, that would sound like a big letdown, but actually in that industry, it's quite high. Well, that's on revenue before or profit before tax. This business is going to get you a revenue multiple. So that's the first most important thing, revenue versus profit before tax. So that's a lot bigger number, right? Because we haven't subtracted all these expenses. And that multiple is much higher. So instead of 2.5 off of EBITDA, you're looking at 10x off of revenue. And the reason why is because you're looking at a recurring revenue business where that money is coming in every month, that profit's coming in every month. It's very predictable. Versus the reason why these other businesses get super low valuations is because their revenue and their profits are all over the map, right? Because a roofer, maybe you get 10 roofs that month, maybe you get 1, who knows? But it's a very up and down job, and the cost behind it is insane because you have to have all these people who know how to go up on roofs. And then what happens if you don't have roofing business? You got to lay them off and all this other stuff. There's so much variability to it. it looks less like an investment. It looks more like a job. So they just get way lower valuations when it comes to exits.
I think that, you know, the model is definitely it's interesting. Bradley says hello, by the way. He and I, hey, what's up, Bradley? He and I were talking, and we were talking about, you know, if we didn't own, you know, a development team and all that kind of stuff, and maybe we weren't partners and we were to break off and just go and do this model ourselves, what would we do? And it was really very interesting because the outsourced SaaS company is kind of what we were talking about. It's like, you know, maybe because the freedom that you're able to have doing this business is a big reason why a lot of people are attracted to it, right? And once you understand how to get clients for it, at the end, the rest is, I mean, outsourceable.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can really continue to scale this in any which way you want. And I think that it's really about how big you want to make it. And again, that's the great news. And this is actually what I love about this model as well. It works for people who, it's like, I've never run a business before. I really want to get started, all of that stuff. It works for all those folks. But I can also show you people who will say, you know, I am a top 5% digital marketing agency. I've been around for 20 years. I target this niche. I have huge mega clients. I'm as experienced as it gets. Oh, by the way, it also works for me. Like, I can show you everybody in between. And so that's the great news about the model. It works for anybody, and it's super scalable for anybody, and it's very profitable for anybody. So that's why I love it so much. That's why we talk about it so much. That's why we're on this path, because we've seen it help so many people, and we can see how flexible it is. So it's really the model of the future. And so it's either you sort of wake up to that model today, or you wake up later on. But the sooner you realize it, the more profitable you're going to be, the faster you're going to grow.
I wonder if you guys internally discuss this. I mean, when I look at high level, I see a piece of software that is geared towards local businesses. Now, not to say it can't do other things, because you got
Sure.
website builder, it's got all this stuff in there. Is that is that the North Star? I mean, obviously the North Star are your users. Okay. But do you feel
our
like
customers are really our North Star?
Okay. Do you feel like that's
but I would say,
yeah.
I mean, I love local business, but because I've had a career in local business, and so I sort of have a soft spot in my heart for them. But I think they're amazing game changers. But I also think that I've seen this model apply to like online coaches, right?
Yeah.
Because ironically, it really depends on your experience set. So, you know, at the end of the day, the way I sort of think about this is that invariably all of these people need to have this type of technology, and they're going to buy it from somebody. But the fundamental difference and disconnect they often find is that the tools are one thing, but the formula, the strategy, the pre-canned knowledge that can come with you, right, the person giving it to them, is just radically transformed when you can bring the two together. So these days, a lot of times it's buy the tools and then buy the coaching or the information or the whatever, but they really ought to come conjoined. And, you know, there's lots of different ways you can do that, but high level sort of makes that super unique. I want every local business to run high level through a white label partner. That's for darn sure. And I think that the Facebook ads are incredibly compelling, but I will say I've seen this work for any business you can imagine.
I just find it funny because whenever I go somewhere locally, it doesn't matter where, it seems like pretty much every local business is outdated in some way. Like I can walk into anywhere. I can walk into anywhere and be like, you have 2 reviews on Google. Maybe we should fix that. Right. Or do you want more customers? Like whatever that it is, the advantage and disadvantage, let me say the opportunity for you as a SaaSpreneur, which is do you guys have that trademark, by the way?
It's in the works.
Okay. You as a SaaSpreneur, there is endless opportunity in the local business space. And Shaun has more experience maybe with the bigger business, but there is endless opportunity. You can identify.
Well, and actually, let me just be very clear about this. If you were to come to me today and say, hey, I want to start one of these SaaSpreneur businesses, where should I start prospecting? I would absolutely tell you to walk out your front door. I would absolutely tell you, go to the Chamber of Commerce, go to the BNI meetings, it's like, go do those things. Go walk around to any local business, and that is where you will be the absolute most successful. Bar none. I can show you person after person. I can show you big company after big company that's done this successfully. I wouldn't go digital. I wouldn't niche out. I wouldn't try to run, some big play like that, because fundamentally, while there are certainly people who do it and do it well and know what they're doing, a couple of things. One, it's hard. Two, when you're first getting started, it's even harder. And three, most of the people that I truly know that are long-term successful in niches, they're successful because they target the top 5 or 10% in that niche, which means that, you really got to you're going to the national convention. I mean, it takes years to get there because it's expensive and you have to build trust and all these other things. The vast majority of people would be well served. And in fact, Patient Pop is a great example. I love to bring these guys up because if you look at their backstory, they walked around Malibu, California to get to $1 million in revenue. Or like podium.com, $100 million plus company. I can show you a YouTube video where the CEO of that company says he walked off the BYU campus and he walked himself to $1 million in revenue. It's very easy to do because that's exactly how lots of other people have done it. And that face-to-face connection is insanely valuable. The trust you can build by saying, I'll be right there, or I'm coming by to bring you a box of donuts and check on you, is insane and totally undervalued by everybody.
Well, and to put a little bit more of a visual on the types of opportunities that you might not even think are there. We have a gal who has an agency, a full-blown agency, lots of customers, and her primary, she has two things that she does. Number one is trash cleaning. Okay. So if there's businesses where their business is to drive around and collect, we pay for this at my house. They come and they wash your trash cans. Okay. And then in the winter, those same people double up as Christmas lights. They hang your Christmas lights for a fee, right?
There you go.
She has an entire agency and is making a bunch of money off of doing that. Here's another one. Chase and I were walking around the conference, you guys' Level Up conference, a couple weeks ago. And we were walking by and this guy grabs us. He goes, "Hey, I saw you guys' spotlight. I want to let you know I love the two tools together." And I think Chase goes, "Well, what niche? What do you do?" And he goes, I'm a hypnotist that I have reconfigured the way that I do. So I teach hypnotherapy to life coaches, and I use UpHex to help the life coaches get the hypnotherapy patients. And I was like, that is amazing. The weirdest niche, but how cool is it that he found High Level and UpHex, combined them, and now has a business about hypnotherapy? How crazy is that?
That is amazing. That's pretty cool, though.
So the possibilities are endless. And sometimes I'll see people who are like, well, so I've been in the doctor niche for 8 years. There are niches out there that you haven't heard of, and people are crushing it with it. So opportunity abounds everywhere. You just have to find your little pocket where you feel great and where you feel like you can add value and that interests you. And I tell you what, man, you can offer them a piece of software that will change their business. So maybe we'll wrap up here. I'll give you the final word, what you'd tell to anybody looking at, this new model of SaaS that we've been talking about.
So, I would just say that, SaaS is the future model. So if you're not on SaaS today, you can get there quickly. That's the good news, but you're behind. This is where the world is headed. And again, back to boring old businesses like pest control, they've already figured out recurring revenue is the future. And I think what's great about UpHex in the way they've done it is they've taken a really key offering and they've dialed it back from you have to offer it as a $2,000 unaffordable, high churn, kind of very laborious, quite frankly, offering, to a really great, easy to price, very saleable, very scalable, very churn resistant situation. And it's just an incredible, great combo, and it's very easy to do. And I think, quite frankly, it's just how you're going to make money. If you want to make a business, if you want to make more money, if you want to have high profit, if you want to scale, if you want to have good exit values, if you want to raise money, all of these things, you have to do it in the construct of a SaaSpreneur style business. And that's exactly what we're offering. So I think it's a great time to get in on.
I couldn't say it any better myself. So that's well said. And for anybody watching, thanks for watching. And we got more videos like this coming. I'll have Chase back. I'll have Shaun back. I mean, if he wants to come back.
Can't wait. Absolutely,
Awesome.
man. Anytime. Let's
Awesome,
do it.
buddy. Appreciate you. Thank you very
All
much.
right.